Welcome back. All right, so some news of the day for all you fine people for your Friday, December the 22nd, 3 days away from Christmas. Hockey games tonight, hockey games tomorrow, and then a 3 day break from hockey. There is World Juniors, of course, on Boxing Day, but that being said, in NHL news for today, we're going to start off talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I cannot imagine a job where you're under more pressure than being a goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And as such, there's a certain makeup that I think you have to have psychologically to be able to excel in that environment. And with Samsonov right now, it feels like it's rolling in the wrong direction. So his save percentage in his last three appearances, 862, 829, and 737 last night. Overall, his save percentage now sits at 871. So what we had been seeing from him was a good game, bad game, back and forth, which I mean it's not optimal, but it's better than what we're getting now, right? So he's admitting that it's not a conditioning thing, that it's mental. It's in his head, which with goaltenders it very often is. It is fascinating when you're watching a goaltender and he's in the zone and he's flipping the puck and he's doing the Statue of Liberty and he's doing the big flashy saves, giving the wink to the opposition kind of stuff, and just smiling, joking around with his defenseman, and generally casual and happy. Versus a goaltender you can tell is fighting it, looking down, just the body language. Last night, Corpusalo, for instance, with Ottawa, when he grabs at his helmet like, I can't believe I allowed that. And so there's a certain psychological makeup of goaltenders that is on a whole different level from everybody else. And really it is because they're the last line of defense, right? So when that puck goes in the net, they're going to take responsibility. But I don't think it's all on him. And I saw a lot of, well, clearly their goaltending wasn't good enough. Well, Jones wasn't better as the backup last night and going in relief. And I don't know if the way they were playing against Buffalo, if you have Wall in the net, I still think he probably ended up with 5 or 6 goals against. Maybe it's not 9. But last night, Domi and Timmins were -4, and Bertuzzi and Benoit were -3. So when they were on the ice, there were more goals going in the net at their end than at the other end. And so I don't think it's just on Samsonov. I think that's unfair. I'm not saying he had a good game. He didn't. But Toronto is not playing well defensively right now, and that is definitely adding to the problem. So they're one of the many teams that may be looking at trying to figure out the goaltending, but there's a lot of teams in the NHL right now that don't seem to have either enough healthy goaltenders or enough goaltenders that look like they could take them very far in the playoffs. So for Toronto, a team that is still second in their division, so they're still in a good position to end up with home ice advantage come round one if they can continue to put up points at the pace they have so far this season. I don't know how far you go if you don't have faith in your goaltender and if the defense doesn't improve. So Brad Treliving's got some work ahead of him. We'll see how things turn out, but I do feel for Samsonov because it's tough. It is tough to play in Toronto, and as a goaltender, I would think that's the toughest position in the National Hockey League. Usually, the goaltenders that have excelled in Toronto have been the veteran goaltenders that come in, like Joseph. Belfour comes to mind as well. Guys who come in, they're veterans, they know how to play, and they seem to be able to handle the pressure a little bit better, right? They're kind of used to it, or they're looking forward to it. But yeah, for Samsonov, I really don't know what the plan is going to be for Toronto going forward. Do you go with Jones then as your starter until Woll comes back? You have to get Samsonov games though. Like Sheldon Keefe said yesterday, said he has to play, and he's not wrong. So yeah, Toronto, one of the teams that's in an interesting position goaltending wise. Let me know your thoughts. So in looking at the standings this morning, I could not help but notice, and so I figured I'd throw that in here. Vancouver's currently number one in the NHL in the standings. Now, they're not number one in points percentage, because people will mention that immediately, but they're number one in the standings on December 22nd. Not expected. Boston's number 4, Dallas is number 5. So it's pretty good Christmas for me so far, even though I haven't been overly impressed with how Boston's been playing lately. They're still number 4 in the standings. Dallas still number 5. And yeah, Vancouver number 1. I don't know how long it's going to go, so I'm enjoying the ride while it lasts. But yeah, it's been fun, especially when looking at the last 5 games. None of these teams have had a regulation loss in their last 5 games. Boston's lost, I think, 3, but all of them in extra time. So they're getting points, as they say. So Jared Chinordi's been activated off of IR by the Chicago Blackhawks. Should be in their lineup tonight. And Korchinski activated as well. He was off. His father passed away, and so he needed to be away from the team and deal with that. So Korchinski's ready to come back into the lineup already, and Chinordi's in the lineup. That's going to help their defense. Korchinski's a good defenseman who, at the time where he exited, and obviously for good reason, right? He was starting to really put it together. So we'll see how things go with him back in the lineup. But all the best to him, and condolences on his loss. We've seen instances where players go through that kind of a loss midseason. It can throw off your game. But yeah, hopefully for Korchinski has a really good run. I think he's played well this year. Now, Ottawa. We need to talk a little bit about the Ottawa Senators here. They did go 0-5 on the road trip. They were outscored by a total of 25-16. But after the second period, they had the lead in 3 out of those 5 games. 3. And so these are winnable games. These are games that they should win. And again, they're 11-17 after that 0-5 road trip. Just imagine if they'd gone 3-2 instead. We'd be talking about how they're dragging themselves back into the picture. But they lose that third period lead. I would imagine for Jacques Martin, 2 games behind the bench, he's going to understand there's a lot of work to be done here. A lot of names discussed as who's going to be the next coach of the Ottawa Senators. But whoever it is has to help this team with protecting leads. It's not dissimilar from Vancouver last season, where when they had a lead going into the third period, you'd be like, are they going to hold it though? And then they wouldn't, and it was really frustrating. So for Ottawa, it's been a similar story this season, and I'm sure goaltending will be the focus for some with them as well. But it's everybody. I've seen a lot of blame getting thrown at Brady Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk has not taken that next step as expected by... I know I had expected him to be a better player this year. Neither of the Tkachuk brothers performing... They're performing... Like, Matthew Tkachuk's performed well. Just the numbers aren't there offensively. And for Brady Tkachuk, the numbers aren't there. And I don't think... I think with Tkachuk, too, he's... and I'm talking about Brady here. His temperament and the fact that he does get frustrated and takes penalties... I understand wanting to be a leader and wanting to go out there and send a message, but if you're in the box and if you're putting your team shorthanded as well, it's I don't think that's the effective way to show that leadership. So we'll see how things go for Ottawa from here, but it really feels like this road trip very well has and I want to say probably, but yeah, they're 11-17. They're probably not going to be a playoff team this year. I just can't say they're not going to be a playoff team because there's still too many games left, even though historically it's very rare for a team that's 11-17 to then rally and make the playoffs. But who knows, right? Maybe if they find the right guy. The one that I saw yesterday, a photo of, and I thought, it's probably not going to happen. But Patrick Roy, right? Craig Berube, another name that came up, and I thought, yeah, that could work. Berube. And I'm okay with recycling a coach for Ottawa, and I know that's probably the route they're going to go because they want to turn it around now. So bringing in a younger coach or an inexperienced coach is very unlikely, I would think, for Ottawa, but we'll see. John Gruden is seen as the favorite, who has not been a head coach at the NHL level that I can remember. I know he's been an assistant. And so he's worked with Staios and Michael Andlauer before. So based on that, it's possible he ends up being the guy, but we'll see. Hedl and Kakko have both been skating on their own. Hedl's just started. Kakko's done 3 or 4 skates on his own. So that's good news, but they have not rejoined the team yet, so their returns are not imminent, but they're at least skating, they're at least working their way towards coming into practice. And the good news for the Rangers and for these young players is the Rangers have been a pretty good team this year. I believe they have the best points percentage in the National Hockey League. So, yeah, the New York Rangers are playing well, and it means that Hedl and Kakko shouldn't feel any rush to come back and play. Just come back and play when they're ready. Ovechkin last night broke his 15-game goal drought with the overtime winner on the power play, and he has been getting tons of shots. He has been generating a lot. Good velocity on his shots lately as well, so this may very well be that breakthrough where he starts to produce. This is not an empty netter either. This is a legitimate, 4-on-3 power play goal in an overtime. And so, yeah, for Ovechkin, who I know has been very supportive of his teammates, and supportive of the team during all the wins, well, if he can get some goals to go with those wins, even better, right? So, yeah, ending that drought's important. Now, one update I was hoping to have by the time I put this board together, and I'm hoping we hear sooner rather than later, sometime today. Leo Carlsson should be getting an MRI if he hasn't had one already. I'm thinking he's probably already had one. We just don't know the results yet. Or they'll come out while I'm producing this video and uploading it, because that happens. But it was a scary looking injury last night. He put no weight on his right leg coming off the ice. He got tangled up with Mackenzie Weegar. These things happen. And so for Carlson, it did not look good. It looked like his right knee was hyperextended and bent in directions that maybe your knee isn't supposed to. So the plan was to ramp up his games so that by mid-January he was playing every game. So they've been doing the load management with Leo Carlsson, and Pat Verbeek was basically saying that by mid-January he should be playing every game. Obviously, if he's going to be out for quite some time, that's going to change the picture for the Anaheim Ducks and change the plan as well. I would think that Carlson coming back from an injury like that, they'd go back to the load management plan. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about that or any of the items on the board. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.